Toonami time. Squishy cat is ready for Toonami. Here's the Squishy cat. Alright, an extra person. Come on by. Toonami. So, like, years ago when I was a kid, I bought my next door neighbor gave me this, like, second issue of Shonen Jump. And I was just kind of going through it. Basically, like, you know, reading all the manga, you know, like Shaman King, because that's what it came with in Naruto. And, like, I see the ad for Naruto, and it's like, hey, it's airing on Toonami. And fast forward, like when it released, or when it dropped, I don't remember when. I watched it, and I'm like, this is really cool, and that was kind of my introduction to Toonami. Later on, there's some small snippets I remember of certain shows, like Evangelion. So hear me out on this. This is gonna sound really messed up. All I remember is seeing, like, Ray's head, like, disintegrating when I was, like, a kid. I'm like, okay, then that's something you don't see every day, but still cool, though. That was, like, when I was, like, I think in elementary or middle school, but, like, and what else? Oh, Cowboy Bebop, I watched, like, that, a little bit of that. I did not know what it was until, like, a couple of years later. I don't really remember too much of it, because, I mean, I like Cowboy Bebop, but, like, it didn't have too much of an impact, not as much as Naruto and DBZ did, because, I'm gonna be real with y'all, like, when I was younger, welcome. When I was younger, I was more into DBZ and Naruto growing up than Sailor Moon. So, by your pitchforks and torches here. But, like, that's what and also I distinctly remember the Boo Saga when I was a kid, too, as well. And that, like, I don't know, I like Fat Boo. He's nice. That's one thing I remember from Toonami, and also the ads, too, as well, like the bumpers and whatnot they would show. And yeah, so that's kind of, I'm trying to pinpoint in, like, certain points in my memory that had an impact on my life, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed Naruto and DBZ growing up over Sailor Moon. Alright, your turn, Jedi.
That was on Naruto.
Tell
was
me.
on Toonami?
Huh?
Naruto was on Toonami?
Yeah, Naruto,
When?
yeah. I think, like, 2000. I think, like...
It was in the mid-2000s.
Yeah, for Naruto. That's when it aired on Toonami, on Cartoon Network. Alright, your turn, Jedi. How do you remember Toonami?
I remember Toonami from back in the 2000s. I think it was back in 99 or 2000 or 2001. I was in middle school at the time, and when I first found out about Ronin Warriors, Dragon Ball Z, Gundam Wing, and one of my personal favorites, where it's Tenchi Muyo series, I was impressed. That's pretty much Toonami is the only resource that got me into anime in the first place, but none of the... I know Dragon Ball Z is still around, and I know Gundam Wing is very popular and still somewhat these days, but some of the other original animes that I've seen in the past, they don't make them as much as they do like they did back in the days, but Sailor Moon is also still very popular, and so are a few others that are also new to this generation as well. That's how I remember Toonami. I mean, I did a panel about it a couple years ago, and doing a lot of research on it recently, and so they decided to kick it up a few notches with some of today's Japanese anime at the time, and then put in some American footage in it. But the only thing that bothered me was that some of the intros, mostly in Japanese, they cut off the intro to the show just to be able to go on with the episode of whatever show they were playing. And then I remember Tom 1 at the time, that obviously was the host of Toonami at the time, that went around The Intruder happened around on the mini-series during the season. That's when Tom 2 came in and started picking up and taking over for it. And so that's how I remember Toonami at the time. So pretty much I really missed it back in the day. So,
You cannot forget about all those English openings.
yeah, definitely.
Those cursed openings.
What is it?
And it's a little stuffy kitty. I don't think it has a name.
I'm gonna call it Zombie.
Yeah, I call it Zombie Kitty. Alright, how do you remember Toonami?
Toonami, I think it was the late 90s, early 2000s when I started watching. I remember shows on MC. Dragon Ball Z, of course, Sailor Moon, Rurouni Kenshin was on it, Outlaw Star, G Gundam, Dragon Ball Z, Zoids, the Mini Gundam series, so whatever they call
I
it.
do remember that.
Yeah.
Mini Gundams. Like
Yeah,
right
SD
on with that
Gundam.
kid. Yeah, SD Gundam. I don't remember much about Tom, but I remember the series.
I
They
remember
weren't like,
for Tom, like he would make those like, sorry to cut you off, but like I remember like when like Tom would make those like what's it called speeches about like standing up for yourself, believing in yourself, all that stuff. Like I forgot when, but like yeah, I remember that. Okay, go on. Sorry.
I don't remember much about the series, but I know that when I came to the end of it, it would just repeat the whole thing over again, like from beginning to end. But my favorite was probably Outlaw Star. I loved that one. I don't really much like Sailor Moon.
Okay, I don't have to feel that bad then.
I remember on the bus, there were other kids who liked anime, and they were like on the bus ride home from my school, and they were like, because I watched Dragon Ball Z, and well, anyways, they were like, hey, who's your favorite DBZ character? I'm like Bulma, right? I'm like, no, it was Vegeta. Because I thought, okay. And they said leading advice, and some of the ones like other kids, he said, oh, if you watch Adult Swim, don't watch Fooly Cooly, because it's like it's too weird and you're too young, so don't watch it.
I remember watching that when I was like a kid, and I'm like, dude, I don't understand this, but I like this for some dumb reason.
So I watched that much later, but it was like really weird.
And then when you watch it as an adult, you realize, oh, it's a coming of age story.
It's just really weird.
Yeah, it is. It's fairly weird.
Or, I don't know. I lost interest in DBZ because it goes on and on forever.
Oh yeah, just a lot of screaming and a lot of commanding.
And no, I mean, I didn't, well, and it's like there's like a lot of,
Welcome.
it just goes on, series goes on and on forever, it's so hard to keep up with. It's like,
Come join the circle. We're talking about how I remember Toonami.
Okay.
Alright,
Probably
continue.
you might hop up and go do something else.
Gotcha.
Stay in the back.
Alright. Alright.
I'm a bit too young to contribute to this conversation. I'm only 21, so I was born in '01, but the only memories I really have is like, it's very faded. I used to watch Naruto with my brother. I didn't know what anime was, but I used to watch Naruto and Dragon Ball Z with my brother sometimes, and yeah, that's all. It's like very, very shallow memories, but I do remember watching that with my brother sometimes.
Alright.
There you go.
The zombie kitty command.
I think I started watching Toonami back I was in elementary school. The thing I not the lot was Dragon Ball Z Gundam series.
does Adult Swim count as Toonami?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Oh,
Those
okay.
one definitely counts as Toonami because I'm shocked that they're still airing anime now these days, so which is
Yeah.
cool.
I remember this Toonami stopped they stopped airing Toonami on Cartoon Network, but years later that it's now on Adult Swim.
Yeah.
That's all I remember.
Alright, how do you remember Toonami, Reggie?
Alright, so I guess I'll hold my camera like
I got
this.
you.
Alrighty, so I missed the OG variation of Toonami. I completely missed that.
You and
But,
me both.
Yeah.
got into Dragon Ball Z Kai, and when I discovered that there were other versions of Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT,
Yeah.
I started searching on the internet, and I started hearing about how it used to come on Cartoon Network and Toonami, and I was just, this was at a time when the only anime that was airing was either on Toonzai, the Funimation channel before it went bye-bye, or Adult Swim at midnight. So,
It went about the Funimation channel.
yeah.
I was gonna ask, what did happen to the Funimation channel?
I forgot. Like,
It just disappeared off the map off of channels.
Here, I remember I watched it in my dad's
Must be
room
very low
because it
rate.
was like out of players and it just disappeared.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's sort of weird.
So, yeah, like the old, how I got exposed to the OG Toonami was through the internet. It was kind of dead at this point. But even then, like I'd say back in 2011, 12, 13, Toonami, the way I see it, wasn't gone because Adult Swim used to do this thing every Saturday night at midnight where they would put on the Boondocks, not anime, Black Dynamite, not anime, and then they would put on all the real anime like Castor and Sins, I think Naruto, Fully Cooley definitely, Inuyasha, Cowboy Bebop, and Space
Have-
Dandy.
Not Dog Have Fun.
Huh?
That was on Toonami, if I remember correctly.
I think it was on Adult Swim at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they used to do this every single time Saturday night at midnight, and then eventually they came back with the name Toonami. So, in my opinion, Toonami was never really dead. Well,
No.
maybe Tom and the official Tom and Toonami.
Yeah, they changed up the the mascots or whatever to like some robot with a round head.
Yeah.
I forget the robot's name was like Tom 78. I don't remember.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, they were never. It was never really dead. It's pretty much doing the same thing it was always doing. Just they kind of just changed the name. But yeah, that's my experience. That's my exposure to Toonami.
Yeah, it was a fairly simpler time growing up with Toonami. Like, I don't know, like everything seemed to be like, what's it called? Like, you would wait for a show to come on, and then you would just like watch it when it aired, and you wouldn't want to miss it. Because literally, like, off topic, when I was like a kid, like I would always like not want to miss a single episode of Naruto growing up, and I would bug the heck out of my parents and like, yo, I don't want to miss this episode. And like when we go out to eat and whatnot, I'm just like, all right, fine, let's go. that was really my mindset when I was a kid. Like I'm just like, I don't want to miss this episode. I don't want to miss what happens to insert whatever character here. Also, off topic, well, still relating to Naruto. I don't know. I gotcha. But yeah, like growing up, like with Naruto, like I do distinctly remember like certain points, like where it would get really brutal. Like all like one moment that stuck out to me is a fight on the what's it called Hokage Mountain or whatever, where just Naruto just pummels Sasuke because he didn't want him to leave the village or whatever. And then there was like one scene that was just not for kids, and that's when like Sasuke was about to break this dude's back, like just puts his foot on his back like this and just like pulls his arms, and then you just see the shadow of this dude's his back break. It's like really brutal. Like they just cut it completely. And then of course we have the cut series of Naruto where like you see less blood and gore, like the 4Kids version, so to speak.
I did that with Yu-Gi-Oh too.
Oh god, yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh.
Manga is just like all this stuff happening, and they like
yeah.
edit it out for kids to make it kids friendly.
Yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh was something I remember on Cartoon Network growing up, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
That explains a whole lot why Samurai Jack, that every time he cuts something with a sword, it turns out to be a robot instead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
instead of blood and gore, it's just robot. It's just robotic pieces. But yeah, like, sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, like that's how I remember Toonami. Like distinct certain points in time where like certain scenes of shows would like, I don't know, affect my brain. It's like, oh, this is cool, but like at the same time it can be brutal at the same time, like really dark. Trying to think, yeah, Evangelion is the only dark show over I remember growing up, because like I would see like small bits of it and I'm just like,
That show?
Evangelion,
Oh.
my internal obsession.
Oh.
because Shinji needs to get in the robot. But yeah, that's how I remember Toonami.
Would you say that Toonami back then was less heavily censored than it is now?
Yeah, it was less heavily censored from what I remember when I was a kid.
I remember, because they didn't really shy away from, like, there were these scenes in Tenchi Muyo that they didn't, like the hot spring scenes.
Oh no,
The
yeah.
hot
They
springs is where
had.
Ika and Ryoko were in, like, Ika wore this pink dress thing, and I don't know what Ryoko wear, but I think.
Oh, trust me, you do not.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, like
I know what you're talking about.
also like, did Yu-Gi-Oh air on Toonami or did it air like
I
on
think it
the
was
regular
Fox
clock?
Kids.
No,
Yeah.
Kids WB actually.
Yeah.
Toonzai.
Yeah.
But let's see how much time we have. 10 for 6.
15 minutes.
Yeah, but yeah, like that's kind of how I remember Toonami. Like certain blocks of time would be like.
I don't remember the original Tenchi Muyo at all, because there's so many different versions of it at this point.
I never saw Tenchi Muyo growing up.
I
only
have.
saw
Heavily
it on-
focused on
I
Naruto.
I only saw it on VHS.
Yeah, that's another thing with certain animes. Like they'll be on VHS tapes, and I don't know. Like, so okay, this is gonna sound really weird, but like I remember when the second season of Fully Cooley aired on Toonami. I remember putting it on record, and I'm like, okay, I want to watch this so I don't miss it, and and yeah, I watched it when it aired on Toonami. I didn't watch it like online because I was thinking it wouldn't be online. But spoiler alert, it does come online. It's online on like everything now. The second season and second and third season of Fully Cooley. But yeah, that's how I remember Toonami. That was the last show I watched. Was alternative and progressive of Fully Cooley. All right.
Thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you. Thank you for coming by.
Oh,
That was